The year is 2026, and for most people, the mind has never been louder. Every day begins with noise, screens lighting up before the sun rises, opinions arriving before your thoughts are fully formed, metrics telling you who matters, who is winning, who is falling behind. Comparison is no longer occasional, it is constant. Someone is always doing more, earning more, living better, moving faster. And slowly, without noticing, people have become emotionally fragile. A single comment can ruin an entire day. A lack of validation can feel like rejection. A delay feels like failure. Uncertainty feels like danger. Most people are not living, they are reacting. Reacting to news, reacting to messages, reacting to expectations, reacting to fear. They call it awareness, but it is exhaustion. They call it sensitivity, but it is dependence. Because when your peace depends on what happens outside of you, you are never at peace. Here's the uncomfortable truth most people avoid. Nothing outside of you has power unless you hand it over. Not words, not events, not loss, not praise, not the future. Power is granted, not taken. Long before the modern world, a man who owned nothing understood this completely. No wealth, no status, no control over his circumstances, yet his mind was free. He taught that the world can touch your body, your reputation, your possessions, but never your inner command, unless you surrender it. This is not emotional numbness. This is not denial. This is sovereignty, the ability to feel without being ruled, to experience without collapsing, to move through chaos without becoming it. Ask yourself, honestly, why do the words of strangers control your mood? Why does criticism linger longer than praise? Why does loss destroy some people and refine others? The event is the same. The outcome is different. Because suffering is not created by what happens, but by what we believe it means. Most people never question this. They assume their reactions are automatic, unavoidable, justified. They are not. What you are about to learn is not designed to comfort you. It will not tell you everything will be fine. It will not promise ease. Instead, it offers something far more valuable: stability. By mastering 5 Stoic principles, you can move through 2026 untouched by chaos, unmoved by insult, unafraid of rejection, undisturbed by uncertainty. This does not mean nothing will happen to you. It means nothing will own you. These principles were not created for easy times. They were used by kings under pressure, soldiers facing uncertainty, and philosophers who understood that the greatest battlefield is the mind. They are simple, they are demanding, and they work. If you stay until the end, you will not feel entertained. You will feel steadier, clearer, more grounded. If you value content that sharpens the mind instead of overstimulating it, subscribe to the channel. Turn on notifications so you don't miss future reflections like this. And in the comments, write one word describing what you want to master in 2026. Because the goal is not to control the world. The goal is to become unbreakable within it.
Principle 1. Control what is yours. Release what is not. If there is one idea that sits at the center of Stoic philosophy, it is this: some things are up to you, and some things are not. Everything else in life becomes clearer once you truly understand that difference. Most people don't suffer because life is difficult. They suffer because they are fighting the wrong battles. They argue with reality. They negotiate with outcomes. They try to manage other people's emotions, opinions, choices, and reactions. And every time they fail, as they inevitably do, they feel frustrated, anxious, or defeated. This is not bad luck. This is misplaced control. Epictetus taught that your life can be divided cleanly into 2 categories. On one side, your judgments, your values, your intentions, your actions, your response to whatever happens. These are yours. No one can take them unless you give them away. On the other side, other people, results, timing, reputation, chance, the past, the future. These have never belonged to you. Yet most people reverse this order. They neglect their own discipline while obsessing over outcomes. They abandon their values to protect their image. They lose sleep trying to predict what cannot be predicted. Look at modern work life. You can control the effort you put into your job. You can control your preparation, your professionalism, your consistency. You cannot control whether your boss recognizes it. You cannot control company politics. You cannot control layoffs, delays, or sudden changes. When your peace depends on promotion, approval, or security, you live on unstable ground. In relationships, the pattern repeats. You can control how honestly you communicate, how you treat someone, how you show up. You cannot control whether they stay. You cannot control their loyalty. You cannot control how they feel tomorrow. Trying to control another person does not create connection. It creates fear. Social media is perhaps the clearest example. You control what you post. You control whether you speak with integrity or chase attention. You do not control likes, reach, algorithms, or opinions. Yet millions tie their self-worth to numbers they do not command. And when the numbers drop, so does their mood. That is not feedback. That is emotional outsourcing. Even money follows this rule. You can control how you budget, how you earn, how you prepare. You cannot control inflation, markets, sudden expenses, or economic shifts. Financial stress often comes not from a lack of money, but from believing certainty was ever guaranteed. And failure, this is where the misunderstanding cuts deepest. You can control your effort. You can control whether you learn. You can control whether you try again. You cannot control whether something works the first time or the fifth. Failure only becomes suffering when you interpret it as a verdict on your worth instead of feedback on your method. This is the root of emotional pain, trying to own what was never yours. Here is a simple exercise you can practice immediately. When something disturbs you, pause and ask one question. Is this within my control or not? If it is not, release it, not emotionally, logically. Say to yourself, this does not belong to me. If it is within your control, act calmly, deliberately, without resentment. Another practice. At the start of each day, name 3 things you will control no matter what. Your effort, your integrity, your response. Nothing else needs to be promised. And when frustration appears, and it will, treat it as a signal, not an enemy. Frustration is often a sign that you are gripping something too tightly. Peace does not come from controlling life. It comes from aligning yourself with what is actually yours. Once you stop trying to govern the uncontrollable, your energy returns, your focus sharpens, and slowly you begin to feel something unfamiliar, relief. Not because life is easy, but because you are no longer fighting shadows. This is not surrender. This is precision, and it is the first step toward becoming unaffected.
Principle 2. You are disturbed not by events, but by your judgments. There is a moment, often invisible, where suffering is created. It does not happen when the event occurs. It happens when the mind interprets it. 2 people can experience the same situation and walk away with completely different realities. One is shaken for weeks. The other remains steady, even strengthened. The difference is not circumstance. It is judgment. An event by itself is neutral. A message arrives. A comment is made. A door closes. An opportunity disappears. None of these contain pain on their own. Pain is added by the story we tell ourselves about what it means. Consider an insult. One person hears criticism and thinks, "This proves I'm not respected." Anger follows. Resentment builds. The mind replays the words long after they were spoken. Another person hears the same insult and thinks, "This says more about them than me." The moment passes, nothing sticks. The words were identical. The outcome was not. Or consider betrayal. To one person, betrayal becomes a permanent wound. They interpret it as evidence that people cannot be trusted, that vulnerability is dangerous, that the world is hostile. To another, it becomes information. Painful, yes, but specific. They learn where trust was misplaced and adjust without closing their heart to everyone else. Failure works the same way. One person fails and concludes, "I am incapable." The failure becomes an identity. Another fails and concludes, "This method didn't work." The failure becomes data. Same result, different judgment, different future. This is what Epictetus understood long before psychology named it. Your mind is not a passive observer, it is an interpreter. And most people let it run unchecked. They assume the first thought is the truth, the first emotion is justified, the first reaction is unavoidable. It is not. Between what happens and how you respond, there is a pause. For most people, that pause is ignored. They live in reflex. But that pause is where freedom lives. Imagine two coworkers receiving the same feedback. One hears it as an attack. They replay it all day. Their confidence erodes. Their performance suffers. The other hears it as guidance. They extract what's useful and discard the rest. They improve. Same feedback, two realities. This is not luck. This is training. Emotional resilience is not something you were born with. It is something you build, moment by questioning your interpretations. Here is a practice you can apply immediately. When an emotion rises sharply, anger, embarrassment, fear, do not act, do not speak, do not respond, do not justify. Instead, ask, "What story am I telling myself right now?" Then ask, "Is this the only possible interpretation?" Often the intensity fades the moment you see the story for what it is, a construction, not a fact. Another exercise. Delay your reaction by 10 breaths, 10 slow breaths before responding to any emotionally charged situation. Most damage is done in the first 5 seconds. Most wisdom appears if you wait. This is not suppression, it is examination. Over time, this pause grows stronger. Your reactions become quieter. Your emotions become informative instead of overwhelming. You begin to notice that many things you once called triggers were simply unexamined judgments. Mastery does not announce itself. It does not argue. It does not rush. It begins in silence, in the space before reaction, where you choose understanding over impulse. And in that space, nothing truly controls you.
Principle 3. Detach from outcomes. Commit to excellence. One of the most misunderstood ideas in modern life is this: effort guarantees reward. It does not. We're taught to measure success by results, by promotion, approval, recognition, or profit. We tie our identity to outcomes. We invest our emotional energy in things we cannot fully control, and this is the source of constant anxiety. When results become the ruler of our minds, every delay feels catastrophic, every failure feels like proof of inadequacy, every comparison becomes a threat. Peace disappears. The Stoics offered a different approach. They taught that the measure of a life is not in results, but in discipline, integrity, in duty. You do not control the wind. You do not control the tide, but you do control your sail. Consider your career. You can commit to your craft, to learning, to showing up fully each day. You can control preparation, effort, and persistence. You cannot control promotions, recognition, or the decisions of others. Detachment from outcomes does not mean laziness. It does not mean apathy. It means focusing entirely on what is yours to do and letting the rest fall where it may. This applies to ambition as well. You may dream of success, wealth, or influence. These desires are not inherently wrong, but obsession over whether you will achieve them only binds your mind. If you give your energy to results, you become a slave to circumstance. If you give your energy to discipline, you remain free. Relationships follow the same rule. You can control how you love, how you listen, how you communicate. You cannot control how another person responds. Attachment to outcomes in relationships creates fear, resentment, and disappointment. Detachment creates presence, patience, and clarity. Even personal goals are best approached this way. You may want to master a skill, change your body, or complete a project by 2026. You may fail. You may succeed. The only true failure is abandoning your effort, betraying your integrity, or ceasing to act. Here's a mental exercise to strengthen this principle. Before starting any task today, silently repeat, "I will do my part. The rest is not mine." As you act, check yourself for obsession with results. If anxiety, fear, or desperation arise, remind yourself, "The outcome is not mine. My effort is." This simple distinction recalibrates the mind. Energy returns to action rather than wasted on worry. The paradox is this: when you release attachment to outcomes, your performance often improves. Without fear or desperation, you act with clarity and precision. Without the weight of obsession, your creativity expands. Without expectation, your confidence grows. Ultimately, peace does not come from winning. It comes from knowing you acted rightly. You gave your effort fully. You acted with integrity. You lived according to your standards. Detach from results. Commit to excellence. Do your duty, and let the world respond as it will. By the end of this day, this week, this year, the rewards will be secondary. The real victory will be steady mastery over yourself. Calm, deliberate, unshaken. This is the freedom of the Stoic, to act fully without the burden of outcome, to be complete in effort and unbroken in circumstance.
Principle 4. Expect hardship so it cannot shock you. Life is unpredictable, and most suffering does not come from what happens. It comes from the shock of it, the surprise, the suddenness, the feeling of being unprepared. A bill arrives you cannot pay. A relationship ends. A career opportunity disappears. A health scare appears out of nowhere. The event itself is rarely what crushes us. It is the reaction, panic, despair, regret, fear. The Stoics understood this centuries ago. They practiced something called premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of evils. They did not dwell in fear. They did not invite misery. They prepared their minds for the inevitability of difficulty. Imagine a soldier going into battle. He does not hope the enemy will disappear. He expects danger. He imagines what could go wrong, how he might be wounded, what he must endure. So when the moment comes, he is not paralyzed. He is steady. He acts. You can do the same in modern life. Consider financial instability. Most people panic at the first sign of missed income or market fluctuation, but a mind trained to expect uncertainty is calm. It has prepared budgets, emergency plans, mental strategies, and the understanding that discomfort is temporary. Consider loneliness. We fear being alone, but the Stoics remind us solitude is a tool for strength. Mentally rehearsing time alone, facing internal discomfort without distraction, builds resilience that companionship alone cannot give. Consider health issues. Most people avoid imagining illness or injury, but contemplating it, even briefly, allows us to cherish wellness, prepare resources, and approach recovery without despair. Consider the uncertainty of the future.
Most anxiety arises from imagining catastrophe without preparation. The Stoic mind rehearses setbacks, delays, and frustration so that when they occur, the mind is already familiar. This is not pessimism, this is training. Hardship is not punishment, it is preparation. The pain is inevitable, but the suffering is optional. Here's a practical exercise. Each morning, take a moment to imagine one thing that could go wrong that day. Perhaps a delay at work, perhaps a difficult conversation, perhaps a small personal loss. Visualize it fully, then plan your response. Ask yourself, if this happens, how will I act with calm and integrity? Over time, your mind will stop being startled by difficulty. Loss will not feel like annihilation. Rejection will not feel like ruin. Delay will not feel like failure. A prepared mind does not expect ease. It does not demand comfort. It does not rely on fortune. It expects difficulty, faces it without panic, and emerges stronger, wiser, and unshaken. By rehearsing hardship in thought before it arrives, the mind transforms the unpredictable into the familiar. Chaos arrives, but the prepared mind remains calm, and in that calm, freedom is found. The world may test you, it may challenge every plan, every hope, but if your mind is trained, you will not be broken. You will bend without snapping. You will move through the storm with steady feet. Expect hardship, prepare silently, and when difficulty comes, it will find you ready.
Principle 5. Live according to values, not emotions. Emotions are powerful. They surge, they command, they demand, but they are not reliable leaders. Most of modern society treats emotion as truth. We are told to follow your heart, to express yourself, to chase what feels good. And in doing so, we surrender our minds to impulse, to desire, to fear. The Stoics taught something radically different. The heart must be guided by reason and principle. Feelings are information. They are signals, not instructions. They cannot be trusted to govern a life. Wisdom is the first guiding principle. It teaches discernment, to see reality clearly beyond the veil of comfort or craving. Courage is the second, the ability to act rightly even when fear is present. Justice is the third, the commitment to fairness and integrity even when anger tempts us towards vengeance. Self-control is the fourth, the discipline to resist immediate pleasure, indulgence, or impulse for the sake of enduring strength. These virtues are not abstract ideals, they are tools for action. Imagine anger rising at someone who has wronged you. Emotion demands retaliation. It demands shouting, revenge, or spite. Wisdom intervenes and asks, will this action improve the situation? Will it align with who I want to be? Courage gives you the strength to act in a way that is honorable, not reactive. Justice reminds you to treat others fairly, even when they have not. Self-control holds your impulses in check, preventing temporary satisfaction from destroying long-term integrity. Or consider fear, the fear of failure, of rejection, of uncertainty. Emotion screams, run, hide, avoid. Principle whispers, do what is right, do what is required. The outcome is not yours, your character is. Even desire must be examined. We chase fleeting pleasure, status, or recognition. The heart says, I need this now. The Stoic mind replies, will this choice honor your values? Will it strengthen you or weaken you? Modern culture glorifies emotional surrender, but an unshakable life is built on character, not comfort. It is founded in consistency, discipline, and a steady compass of values. Here is an exercise you can apply immediately. When you feel a strong emotion, pause and ask, does this align with who I want to be? Does this action honor my principles? Do not wait for the emotion to fade. Act according to virtue while it is still present. Do not let impulse dictate your choices. Let values guide you. Over time, this builds an inner authority. You stop being a servant to every fear, desire, or irritation. You begin to respond deliberately. You become calm when others panic. You act justly when others cheat. You speak wisely when others shout. Character is stronger than circumstance. It cannot be stolen. It cannot be taken. It cannot be shaken by insult, loss, or misfortune. Living by your values does not make life easy. It often makes it more demanding, but it makes you unbreakable. It aligns your mind, your body, and your spirit. It frees you from being tossed about by every passing feeling. The practice is simple. The commitment is not. Choose principle over comfort. Choose integrity over impulse. Choose the person you wish to be, regardless of fear, anger, or desire. And in that choice, you find strength, calm, freedom. This is the final step to becoming untouchable, not because the world has changed, but because you have.
We have traveled through 5 principles. Control what is yours. Release what is not. You are disturbed not by events, but by your judgments. Detached from outcomes, commit to excellence. Expect hardship so it cannot shock you. Live according to values, not emotions. Each principle is simple in explanation, yet profound in practice. Stoicism does not promise an easy life. It does not remove pain, loss, or challenge. What it removes is helplessness. It removes the illusion that external forces can own your mind. It places the power where it belongs, inside you. Becoming unaffected is not becoming cold. It is becoming grounded. It is living with clarity while chaos rages around you. It is moving with intention while the world pushes and pulls. It is standing steady when others falter. The year 2026 will test you. It will challenge your patience, your discipline, your integrity. It will present uncertainty, loss, and disappointment. And yet, a mind trained in these principles will not be broken. Control your response. Judge wisely. Detach from what you cannot command. Prepare for difficulty. Live by your values. Do this, and no insult can wound you. No failure can define you. No rejection can unseat you. No circumstance can dominate a mind that governs itself. These are not ideas for comfort. They are ideas for freedom. They are the tools of kings, soldiers, philosophers, and every person who refuses to be ruled by fortune. Take them into your day, into your week, into this year. Act deliberately. Pause before reaction. Commit fully to effort, regardless of outcome. Face challenges before they arrive. Choose principle over impulse, every time. If you found value in this reflection, like this video. Share it with someone who needs steadiness in 2026. Subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, and commit to following these principles with me. And now, take a moment in silence. Breathe. Feel the power in knowing that no person, no event, no circumstance can ever control what belongs to you, your mind, your judgment, your will. That power is yours. Keep it, use it, and move through 2026 unshaken.